Warning, the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers and/or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only. Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you here with us again tonight. We have two more wonderful authors. Our podcasts have been so much fun. We've enjoyed it so much, meeting all these wonderful people who bring us books that teach us things and entertain us. And we have two more that are going to be really great tonight. Unfortunately, Cheryl Payton, who was supposed to be on the show, was unable to do so because of a medical emergency, and she asked for all your prayers and good thoughts, if you could send them her way. Tom Nally said, hi, Rob and Joan, and we say hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
And we want to thank Ralph Peterson because he's substituting for Cheryl and said he could do the show at the very last minute. But this has been really fun. We've enjoyed it so much, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's show.
And speaking of those amazing authors, we have upcoming next week our first ever UK author night. We've got a young adult and a fantasy author, Paul Coode, who will be here. He's got a lot of fascinating stories. And British crime novelist Bobby Barker. She will be on as well. So you don't want to miss that one. They're going to be staying up late to do this. So everybody please show up and have a good time. And then we'll be doing the same thing once a month at the end of the month. So that'll be a good thing. So without any further ado, why don't we bring out our first guest?
Wait a minute. Before you do that, I wanted to remind all of you to like, comment, share, and follow this podcast. We would appreciate it very much. We love your comments. And also, you can now watch us on TV, all of the wonderful shows on WLFDB-DBE.com. I said that wrong.
They'll find it. It's on the commercial. WLFE-DB.com. Okay, they are streaming live right now. We have Variety Unlimited, which our show is on. LGBTQ Friends, where you can find Inside the Drag Closet, which comes right after our show at 8:30. And also Paranormal View, where you can find all things paranormal. All right, now, without further ado, Jim, why don't you join us up here on the screen? Okay. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hello. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. George Dismuke says, watching with intense interest. Thanks, George.
We can tell.
George was one of the authors who's been on our show before, and he is going to have one of his book series made into a series, possibly on Netflix. And it's called, okay, George, you're going to have to correct me if I get this wrong again. Siren Song? I think that's it.
We're both wrong if that's wrong.
And actually, one of the actors that's going to be in that, we saw on a TV show the other night on 911 Lone Star. So
anyway, enough about other people.
Sorry.
Sounds fascinating.
It is, right? Yep. Okay. I got it right.
Jim, how did you get started writing? What brought you into the business?
Well, if you ask my mother, she would say I've been writing since I was 6 years old. I've been writing off and on my whole life. I began writing more seriously about 15 years ago, and I have sort of settled into two genres. And I write Southern fiction now, and also write children's books. So I've got a couple of nonfiction books out, but I mainly concentrate on Southern fiction and children's literature.
What are your nonfiction books?
My first nonfiction book, it was called Sisyphus and the Itsy Bitsy Spider. It's out of print now, but it was a book written for educators, and it was about children, working with children who were challenged by the absence of good behavior. So it was sort of what I had learned in my decades of working with kids.
What did you do working with kids?
Sorry, didn't mean to step on your line there. I was a special educator. I worked with teenagers, mostly in treatment centers and residential facilities and locked units. The labeled children, the drug addicts and alcoholics and conduct disorder, and those were my kids.
So that greatly influenced your Boone series, right?
It led directly to the Boone series, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. You want to tell people a little bit about your Boone series?
Yeah, I can do that. Like I said, I spent the majority of my professional career working with teenagers out on the fringes, the children who had difficulty with dealing with society. And as I worked with them over those decades, I noticed some sort of common themes that showed up, not in every child, but and some of them were the ones you would expect to hear from that population: the anger and the rage, the insecurity, the mistrust of authority, hopelessness. All that is sort of fits the stereotype of that subgroup of teenagers. But there was also, and this doesn't get talked about nearly as much as I believe it should. I'm showing my biases here. There's also a resilience and strength in these children. And I have to say, we need to remember that even though they're big and they're bad and they think they're grown-ups and all that, and some of them are truly dangerous people, no question about that, they are still children. And some of the situations that those children found themselves in, just the ability to get up and face the next day, there's a strength and resolve there that I found just remarkable. And like I said, that doesn't get mentioned nearly as often as I think it should. But more important than that, I think, is in every child I worked with, sometimes it was buried pretty deeply under all these other layers that I was just mentioning. But in every child I worked with, there was something about that child that wanted to get it right, that wanted to figure it out, that wanted to learn how to become a functional, successful adult. And those themes, like you said, Rob, those things are what led directly to the Boone series. And I'll just go ahead and kind of sketch that out. The Boone series right now is a series of 3 books. There's a 4th one that is, I'm finishing it up now. I've written it, and I should say that as a writer, I'm more Bradbury than Patterson. Not in terms of skill level; those were like at the top of the game. But more as far as technique, Patterson is known for outlining and knowing where a story is going, and that sort of thing. Bradbury is more. Well, I've heard him say that just follows his characters around with a typewriter trying to keep up.
Right.
That's more what I do. I'm more that that type of writer. And so for the Boone series, what I do is I write the book, and then I have to go back and fix everything, like the timelines and that sort of thing.
Right.
And then I have to have, of course, editing and proofreading, because when I read my own work, I self-correct. I read what I should have written instead of what I actually wrote. So
Right.
Yeah.
those extra pairs of eyes are very important. And I've got the same cover designer for the fourth book as I did for Pushing Back and Matching Scars and Keeping Secrets. And I do not have a publication date, because I'm on Nick Castle is the cover designer. I'm on his schedule, but I don't know when that will come up. But the fourth book is it picks up actually immediately where the third book leaves off. And let me just sketch out the 3 books in the series not in a whole lot of detail, because I don't want to give too much away. Boone he's not any one particular child of the children that I worked with. I like to think of him more as an everyman. He's a distillation of those children. And the Boone series opens in Pushing Back. He is 16 years old, and he's got a lot of strikes against him from the outset. He's not really good looking. He's not got a lot of money. He doesn't have very many friends. He's got a really lousy home life. One of the reviewers of Pushing Back called it the aftermath of an abusive relationship. And I think that's part of it. That's part of what Pushing Back in the series is about. Boone is 16 at the beginning of Pushing Back, and his family disintegrates. And I won't go into the details of how that happens, pretty early in the first book. And he's left on his own to learn how to negotiate the adult world with very few assets and no real role models to draw on. He's really rough around the edges, makes a lot of mistakes. He's carrying a lot of baggage. A lot of stuff that his father taught him is not good technique for getting along in the adult world. But at the core, he's a good kid. I mean, I really like Boone. I'm biased, of course, but I really like the guy. He's a good kid, and he's trying. You know, he's really trying to get it right, and I think that makes him more like us than different from us.
Yes.
Right. I think there's a lot of commonality there. He's a real person.
Yes.
I write the Boone series first person present tense, and that's I enjoy writing that way. It's challenging and rewarding all at the same time. One of the things that means is that when Boone comes up on a situation, and as a functional adult with a lot of life experience, if I can see that there are 4 choices about what he can do, and C and D are really good choices. C is the best choice. A and B are not so great. But if all Boone can see is A and B, then I can't put choices C and D in the book, because it's all first person present tense. We're seeing it through Boone's eyes. So Boone has to choose from what he knows, and what he's learned as he goes on, which makes for some kind of cringe moments if you're a reader. There are several times.
It also means when you write in that tense that the audience is with you. The reader is going along with the action as it happens.
Yeah. Right, exactly. You're in Boone's head, seeing what he sees.
Yeah.
The only time you get another perspective is when somebody else tells Boone what they think is going on, and sometimes he accepts that, and sometimes he blows it off. So He's through the 3 books of the series, he is stumbling toward adulthood. And I think the important thing is he's stumbling toward adulthood. He's making progress, getting better, laying aside some of his anger and mistrust. And by the end of the 3rd book, I don't know whether I mentioned or not, at the beginning of the 1st book, he's a 16-year-old.
Yes, you
By
did.
the end of the 3rd book, he's 19. He's stepping out more on his own. And the title of the 4th book, I haven't shared this with a lot of folks yet. So
Here we go. Premiere.
This
Here.
newsflash, everybody. The title of the 4th book is Following Frankie. And the people who have read the entire series know who Frankie is. And so I'm not going to give that away.
Hey, speaking of giveaways, let's talk about the book giveaway real quick so people will have time to email you that are interested. And you want to tell them about it?
I can do that. I'm giving away a print copy signed of the 1st book in the Boone series, Pushing Back. And I'll mail it out to wherever. I'm not limiting that to the U.S. So did we decide on a number, Rob, as far as emails?
Well, the first person, that's up to you. However you want to do it, really.
If you want to give just one book away, it'll be the first person. So
yeah, one book would be.
Okay.
You'll have the timestamp.
First email I get, I will send an autographed copy of Pushing Back, first book in the series.
And so to win that, the book giveaway, the first person worldwide. So those of you in Australia, yes, Robert, I'm speaking to you. If you would like to get this book, you need to email Jim at housemountainviews.com and you will win an autographed copy of Pushing Back.
If you're the first person.
If you're the first person. Also, we would like to show you other places that you can get in touch with Jim. Email jhartsell1152@gmail.com. You can reach him there.
That's not to win the book, though.
That's not to win the book. That's just to say hello and to follow him and see what's new. Let's see. What else do we have here?
Facebook.
HouseMountainViews.com.
That's the website.
And Facebook. Go ahead. You can read this one.
Facebook would be facebook.com, of course, /Jim Hartsell Writer. Jim Hartsell Writer.
So those are all the places that you can get in touch with Jim and you can find out what's going on with his writing. And you just got a sneak peek at his next book with the title, which no one has known until tonight. It's Following Frankie. And if you want to know who Frankie is and why that's significant, you should read the first 3 books.
And they are available on ebook, paperback, hardbound. Hardbound?
No.
No.
Not hardback. Just paperback and ebook.
Okay. And then here is, oops, maybe.
What?
There we go.
There's your children's books. Look at those. The Boy in His Mountain. The Noise in the Woods. Go ahead.
Father and Sister Radish and the Rose-Colored Glasses.
That's nice. What's the one
and
on
there's
my
also
the Spanish versions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's also what, Jim?
There's also a 4th one called The Box of Toys.
Oh, the box of toys. I missed that one. Sorry about that. Okay, Box of Toys. That's also in Spanish?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
All 3 of those are in Spanish. All 4 of
available
those
in Spanish.
Are available in Spanish and English, or English, whichever you prefer. That's really awesome. Let me see here. Hello.
If you like, I can tell you.
Hey, Kevin.
Glad to have you here.
What, Jim?
If you like, I can tell you a little bit about those books.
That would be awesome.
Sure.
The children's books are available in print only. They are very light on text, heavy on illustrations. They're about 900 words each. And it's text on one page, picture on another, all the way through the book. And they're written for very young children and their caregivers to read together, in the hope that it will spark a conversation between the two. But it's also possible for a beginning reader to take it on their own. Each of the books has a theme, which is my hope to spark the conversation going. Like The Boy in His Mountain is about perception, about how children see the world differently than grown-ups do. And I play around with the notion of what a mountain is in that book. The Box of Toys is about generosity. A Noise in the Woods. The Noise in the Woods is about imagination and what a wonderful thing that is. And Father and Sister Radish and the Rose-Colored Glasses is about friendship and finding that in unexpected places. And it's about chickens.
Well, of course.
When my wife was very young, she had pet chickens, and two of them were named Father and Sister Radish.
Oh, cool.
Right. Yeah, there you go. And I took that as a sort of a jumping off point to begin the book. And the last half of it I sort of made up on my own. But one thing I would like to say about the illustrations in the book, I know I may be running out of time here. I'll make this kind of quick.
That's okay.
I was very fortunate to find a good illustrator. And for those of you out there who are watching or listening to this, I can't stress enough the importance of collaboration. What a great thing that is. I found this illustrator. Alex is a really great illustrator. And one of the things I discovered early on is whatever ideas I thought I had about what an illustration should look like, hers were better every time. So I finally figured out that I should just back up and say, you are the visual artist, I'm the text artist.
There you go. I'll put the words down.
A very light touch is the way to go. Also, excuse me, in The Box of Toys, which was the second one we did together, I sent a copy to my son, who at that time had a 2-year-old, and they read it, and they had already seen Father and Sister Radish, and they read it, and the second time through, the 2-year-old said, "Oh, there's Pops's book."
Aww.
And what Alex had done was, in a couple of places in the children's bedrooms in The Box of Toys, she had drawn in a copy of my first book.
Oh,
Oh,
and
cool.
all through the 4 books, there are like Easter eggs from previous books, which I didn't know she was going to do.
that's
And
very clever.
I thought that was just a lovely touch. I didn't know that was coming, but it certainly adds to the book.
People
Right.
love that.
And it's great working with somebody that knows their stuff, you know.
Right. Well, Jillian said hello. Trish said, who doesn't love chickens? And she should know because she's our daughter, and one of our other daughters keeps chickens. Yep. And they all have names. I don't remember their names.
George has a question.
Oh, George has a question. Here we go. George wants to know, which do you enjoy writing the most, fiction or nonfiction?
Oh, at present, fiction. By far. I've done a little bit of nonfiction. Like I said, Sisyphus and the Itsy Bitsy Spider was nonfiction. And I have a book of short pieces, glimpses, that is also nonfiction. But I have gravitated more and more towards fiction. And as on the whole, I enjoy fiction more. It's a fairly narrow genre of fiction. Southern fiction is pretty specific. So I don't know how well it would work if I branched out into crime or sci-fi or something like that. I've never tried my hand at that. But fiction's very rewarding to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I like fiction. I like reading nonfiction too, though.
I think as far as the Boone series, and I know I sort of alluded to this before, but the children that I worked with
Yeah.
are very often sort of the forgotten children, the throwaway children, and their voice deserves to be heard too.
Absolutely.
So, and Boone can do that. Boone can sort of speak for them, and that's another reason I like fiction. I can kind of play around with that sort of message if I can get into that.
Those of you who joined late, I just want to say again that Jim is giving away his first book in the Boone series, which is Pushing Back, right?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm getting better. The first person, it's worldwide, so he'll send it anywhere. Email Jim at housemountainviews.com and you'll get an autographed copy of Pushing Back. Oh, there it is. It's written right there for me.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, go ahead and email him so that you at his .coms. So Patricia's saying hello.
Hi, Patricia.
Hello, Patricia. Glad to see you. She's Dom's mom. We said hello to Dom earlier. And also, I don't know if you guys saw, but Kevin popped in and said hello. Hey, hey, hey. We love Kevin. He has a show. Anyway, I really like what your books are about, that you're bringing attention to something that needs to have attention brought to it and doing it in fiction. You know what I mean? So you're fleshing things out for people from your perspective that maybe we wouldn't have that perspective because we haven't worked with those children.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you have.
With your experience with them, that's got to help other people.
Yeah.
It really does, you know.
Well, I hope so. I think part of the thing that comes through for me with the Boone series and with working with those children in general is that they're like in a lot of groups that get characterized as other, there's really a lot more similarities than differences. I mean, there's a lot about Boone that is very much like you and me. If you get through some of those top layers of sort of the rough exterior and the considerable amount of baggage that he's carrying around, he's got a lot of stuff that he's trying to let go of.
Well, I just want to say, if you're interested in seeing any of Jim's books, you can always go to indiebooksource.com and look for his page there. And you can have a direct link to buy his books from those pages. You can find him on Amazon. Do you have an author's page on Amazon?
Yes, he does.
Okay, you do.
Yeah, so if you click on one of his books, you can go to it, just highlight the book, and you can see the author and go to the author page and see all the books.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
As well. So.
Mm-hmm. And from your children's books, I think it's also good. It's a way for the caregivers and the children to have a dialogue. And so that's the whole point, I think, that Jim wanted to do. And did I understand that correctly? To open up dialogue?
That is. And if I have time to say where the Spanish translation came from, I was in a book selling venue, and a young mother came up and said something about how difficult it was to find children's books in Spanish, and I started thinking about it. And I was speaking to a friend of ours who is a native speaker of Spanish, came up from Mexico 20 years ago. And when she and her family came up, she used children's stories to teach her children English, because they already knew, like, the fairy tales and that sort of thing. They already knew them in Spanish. So she would go to the library and get the English version and use that to teach a new language to her children.
It's a good
And
way.
I thought, what a great idea. And she said, you need to be very careful and get a good translator. And I said,
Yes.
Would you be interested? And she said yes, and off we went.
Because colloquial expressions cannot mean the same thing at all. Like in English, we would say, if you were supposed to meet somebody and they didn't show up, it would be, they stood me up, right? If you translated that into Spanish, they would be like, what are they talking about? Because they would say, me dejó plantada, which means they left me planted, which if you say that in English, we would say, what the heck are you talking about? So you do need to know someone that understands the language, that speaks it.
Right.
One of our foreign exchange students, we did that several years ago, and we had a girl from Brazil, and my wife was talking about some friends of hers, and she said something about they really hit it off. and Laís was, oh no.
Oh no. That sounds horrible.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's where things can get very confusing, and that's
Go
why
downhill fast. Yeah.
That's why when you see translations, sometimes you'll be like, what? Because the person translating it really didn't know the language.
Well, Jim, thank you for sharing with us about your books and what's coming down the road. I want you to stick around. You can participate toward the end of Ralph's
half
hour. And we're going to break here for a couple of minutes, and nobody leave. Everybody watch the commercial, please.
Wait a minute. Let's bring up one more comment.
Okay, one more comment. Let's see what it is.
Pro tip. It's great to learn a foreign language children's books, even for adults. That's true.
That's true. And Tricia has gone quite a few places.
I call my niece a keeper, and my French friends were so confused. She does have a lot of friends in France.
There you go.
Who are learning English, and so to call someone a keeper is very strange.
Okay, well, we better get to Ralph here pretty soon, because he may be falling asleep back there. He's had a very busy schedule
long
the last
day,
2
and
days.
We can't believe he graced us with his presence.
So sit tight, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
WLFE Digital Broadcast Network is on TV. You can watch all of our shows on WLFE-DB.com. Check out our channels: Paranormal View for all of your paranormal type shows, LGBTQ Friends for all of our LGBTQ shows, Variety Unlimited for all other shows. It runs 24/7 right on WLFE-DB.com. You'll even catch the lives, all in one place. Never miss an episode, past or future. WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows. Search for your favorite shows like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Paratalk Radio, Step into the Paranormal, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and more. Now you won't miss an episode. Remember, follow Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Make sure you subscribe and follow your favorite WLFE-DB radio shows. You can find our shows where you listen to your favorite podcasts, like Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. WLFE-DB Radio is looking for podcasts to join our family. You don't have to fit any strict genre. We're a plethora of shows. If you're looking to jump on a growing network, then contact us at WLFEDBradio@gmail.com.
Wow, Amazon Music just got a whole lot better. Your favorite shows from WLFE-DB Radio can now be found there. Yes, we are on Amazon Music, found under podcasts. Download the app, find podcasts, and search all of your favorite shows. Shows like Where's My Sage, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Skeptical Help Bar, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and much more. Now you don't have to miss an episode ever. Amazon Music is WLFE-DB Radiofied.
More from WLFE DB Radio Network after this.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area at 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam, there you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com. You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now back to our program.
Hello, Ralph.
Hi, Ralph. Welcome aboard. Sorry for
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Oh. So, go ahead. We have two comments here. He's glued, and he wants to know if we have any open slots in the near future. Email us.
Yep. CarterNovels@AOL.com. Okay, got that out of the way.
Okay.
Hello, Ralph. Patricia.
Hi.
There. All right. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you've had a long day, and I can't thank you enough, really, for jumping in like this.
No, I have no worries. I'm glad to do it. I'm happy to talk about writing. I'm happy to talk about everything when it comes to telling stories and books. And I'm excited. I was excited to listen about Jim. I didn't know anything about Jim and his book series, and I got the awesome tip about his illustrator. That's good. Finding a good illustrator has got to be the most challenging thing. Finding anybody to collaborate with. I'll tell you, as a writer, and I'm sure some people can probably relate to this, one of the biggest challenges I have is, you're like a little gun shy about sharing your work with anybody. So
Yeah.
getting a collaborator could be quite a challenge as well.
Yeah, well, that's what we do.
We collaborate.
It's a challenge.
It is a challenge at times.
We're still married, so
There you go.
It can be done. That's not something.
No question.
It is a mystery.
Yeah, no, I'm always impressed when I learn and hear about stories about people who write books together. And there's a writing group that I wasn't a part of, but I did hear about, where there were some pretty good authors who would share an idea and then they would just pass it around. And so I'm going to write a chapter, and then you pass it off to someone else, and they read what you wrote, and they're able to take it in a new direction. And you know what I mean? Like, it's this fun. It seems fun, but then you're also, I don't know. It's fun. It's fun.
that's like the car game you play with your kids. The same kind of thing. You start the story, and the next one picks it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be really good at setting your ego aside, I think, to make any collaboration happen, right?
Oh, definitely. Why don't we show his giveaway?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just willing to share my newest book called The Good Manager. Being great is overrated. I am a nonfiction writer, so I write about real events and happenings. As a matter of fact, I'm actually a management trainer. I own a management training consulting company, and I work mostly in housekeeping. And I train housekeeping managers how to be effective managers in healthcare. And so I have my own business doing that. And I find one of the best ways to get across the message and learn and teach about management is to write about it. And it's what I've been doing for a long time. So.
All right, let's put that up again, his giveaway.
Okay, Ralph, do you want to tell about your giveaway?
Yeah. Did you not just hear me at all?
Yeah, no, I did.
The first two people.
First two people.
Goodness. Here, we
Oh, I
want
apologize.
people
Yes,
that are
yes,
on
yes.
audio to hear where you're, what you do.
Okay. All right. Email me. The first two people to email me at info@ralphpeterson.com. I will send you an autograph copy of the book wherever you are. Doesn't matter to me. And just tell me who you want me to autograph it to, of course. Give me a name and I'll put it on there and autograph it for you. So I'm excited again just to get the book out. So it just came out in October, and there is an audio book as well. So I did do it as an audio book, so that's available as well. So you can listen to it if you don't, if maybe perhaps you're one of those people who like to actively read.
Yeah, well, you know, if they're working and they're managing, maybe they want to listen to it.
1,000,000%. I'm a big fan of Audible type of books, where books on tape and books on CD and any kind of, any way that you can occupy that space. I mean, I'm a big, mow your lawn, listen to a book, mow your lawn, listen to a podcast, go for a walk, listen to a book. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Yep. And I think a lot of people do that nowadays too. Here are some.
No, these are it. This is the 4 books that I've published.
It is all 4. We got that 4th one up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as you can probably tell, I try to be a little fun and cutesy with my titling. My titles are, my first book is called Managing When No One Wants to Work.
Yeah.
My second book is Adventures in Dietland. And then I wrote a book called Congratulations, Now Get Over Yourself.
Yeah.
and my final book is called The Good Manager, Being Great is Overrated. And I write about management and what it takes to become a good manager. And in my latest book, I got to be honest with you. My latest book, I wrote for my own management team, people that I was already working with. And I wrote it as a warning, not really as a book for the average consumer, although I think it came out really well. But 7 out of 10 first-time managers fail in the first 90 days. 7 out of 10.
Wow.
And that's a huge number. And you think about where we get our new managers, they are our best workers. So they are the people who come in early, stay late.
Yes.
Saturdays and Sundays when it's not their Saturday and Sunday to work. They're always the most positive. We put our most faith in them. 7 out of 10 times, if you promote them, you're either going to have to terminate them within 90 days or they're going to flat out quit in 90 days. Wow. That is who wants to do that? Who wants to lose their most important asset? Nobody.
Is that because they can't delegate or?
Well, no. Okay, yes, but it's for a bunch of different reasons. But mainly it is because, and everybody knows this intuitively, I hear it all the time. Yeah. People always say, just because they were a good worker doesn't mean they make a good manager. And I'm like, okay, so that's fine that you have that. That's true. But what are we supposed to do? When you're looking to promote somebody, our only choice is to promote the best worker. Have you ever thought for a minute if we went and promoted the worst worker? I mean, imagine going, oh my gosh, who'd be really great, who could step up. What is her name? She's not here today because she called out again, but she would be really great. No, that doesn't happen. So our only choice is to promote those who are the best workers, which is a great problem to have. The problem with that, of course, is they have not yet been skilled. They have not yet been trained. They have not yet had the experience about being in charge. Do you remember what it was like to go from junior high school to high school? Do you remember what it was like to be in 8th grade? When I was in 8th grade, I knew everything. I knew the school front and back. I knew all the teachers. I knew the principal. I knew the assistant principal. When we're doing tours for new kids coming into the school, I was one of the volunteers because I knew where the art room was and the gym room. And I knew everything. I was the king of my 8th grade. And then this small, short little window of time, this summer happens. And I go to my freshman year in high school and I'm a nobody. I don't know where anything is. I'm a bubbling idiot. I'm lost all the time. I can't remember where my locker is. Forget the locker combination. I haven't even had one of those before. It's the same person in a very small amount of time. You just put me in a new position. You just promoted me to high school. And they're like, no, he's going to be fine. He's going to be great in high school. And I was not great in high school. You know what I mean? That's what happens to new managers. Whereas the super worker, they're the greatest. They're the most reliable. They know everything. And then you put them in charge. You put them in the management position, and they're just like, wait a minute. How am I going to do this? Right. It's a challenge. So for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Yep.
A lot of reasons.
I did that. I was a worker and became a manager.
That's perfect. That's exactly how it's supposed to happen. One of the biggest challenges I find with new managers is because they're unskilled in how to get people to work, they start taking it on themselves. And instead of getting other people to do the work, they start doing the work themselves.
That's what I said. They don't know how to delegate. But you see, we have 6 children.
Oh.
And now we have 14 grandchildren.
So we learned
if you
how to
have
delegate.
6 children, you know how to delegate. And I always told my kids when they were growing up, that's the reason we had you, so that you had to do this work, so I didn't have to.
I like to, so I'm a management trainer, as I alluded to already, and I spent the last 2 days doing full day workshops. So I'm a little bit tired of just being on camera. But when I do my training, when I'm talking to brand new managers, I like to use animal analogies. I really like it. I like writing about animal analogies. I think it's a real fun thing. And one of the ones that I always bring up is the whale.
Okay.
And for those who can't see me, I am holding up a stuffed animal of a whale. And I have a giraffe, and I have a squirrel, and I have a crab. And you know what? Somebody emailed me recently because they saw me doing a video, and they said, why do you have stuffed animals? I said, have you ever tried to go through an airport with a live zebra? They don't let you do it. So you got to bring it in So
there you go.
Anyway.
That would explain that. Yeah.
so the whale analogy is so, well, I want to say the word great, but it's telling. It's telling is what it is. Do you know how whales die?
No, how did they die?
No.
See, whales don't have a natural predator.
They're a little large, yeah.
They're a little large to have a natural predator. And other than the random nets and some fishing incidences, how do whales die?
Old age?
Whales die by suffocating.
Oh,
Ew.
yikes.
Because of old age, because they eventually get too big, too large, and too tired. They take on so much that they can't hold themselves up against water anymore.
I see where you're going with this.
And they will eventually, they will not drown, they will suffocate. And the difference only is that they don't inhale underwater, but because they can't inhale, because they have to get above water to inhale, they will suffocate themselves. You ever see a beached whale? The beached whale is a whale that is very tired, trying not to drown, trying not to suffocate. And that is what happens to managers. And it happens to new managers, but I've seen it happen to experienced managers too, where they just think the team maybe has been put too much on and they still have to do something. And you know what? I'll do it. Okay, I'll do that too. And oh, I'll do that too. And oh, I'll do that too. And before you know it, they're taking on so much that they literally drown. And it is a terrible, painful way to go out, because imagine being that brand new manager. They are getting fired. They're getting terminated within 90 days because they tried to do too much and they weren't able to.
Yeah, they work too hard.
I can see that.
And if you're that new manager, you're getting terminated. I've been there. I've done the homework. I've done the research. I've been fired a few times. But the way you feel when you are terminated is you feel cheated almost, because you're like, all right, so I maybe got it wrong, but I didn't get it wrong because I didn't show up.
Right.
I mean, you're firing me because I did too much, or I tried to do too much. And so it does not feel good.
No.
As much as it doesn't feel good to a whale, not to make that big of a comparison or that exact of a comparison, but it doesn't feel good.
But you work too hard. You work too hard.
You worked yourself too hard.
You know, it's frustrating.
Trish said, I think with the pandemic, it's even harder on managers. It's harder on everyone.
Agreed. And for a bunch of reasons, I work in nursing homes. I work in healthcare. And so during this entire pandemic, the first thing we did was we canceled all managers' vacations. Yeah. We canceled all managers' days. We're like, hey, listen, none for now. we're having too much of a problem getting staff in. And then if you're COVID positive, or even if you lived with somebody who was COVID positive, you had to take 14 days off. I mean, think about that. We're already short-staffed in a nursing home.
Yeah.
And then some staff are being sent home for 2 weeks. It was extremely challenging, very hard on managers. I'm so proud of the management team that I work with, because they were, over and above. They really, really, really did well. They really stepped up, which is indicative to what it takes to be a good manager. You want to be a good manager, you're going to be the type of person who sees things through. I was at a graduation once, an 8th grade graduation, and part of the graduation there was and I wrote about this in my first book, Managing When No One Wants to Work. In the 8th grade graduation, there was a teacher retiring, and somebody was giving a little speech about this teacher who had been teaching for 30 years and they were retiring. And in the speech, this person who was bringing the guy up said, this guy has spent 30 years teaching kids how to mean what they say and finish what they start. And I was just like, wow, you give me a kid who means what he says and finishes what he starts, I will show you the building blocks of a manager. I will show you the building blocks of a leader. I will show you somebody who has what it takes to actually get people to follow them, because that's part of being in charge. You've got to be the type of person people want to work for.
Brilliant just said, I wasn't allowed to take any time off during the pandemic. I had to go in every day. It was awful. And she works in the court system, so she's not too far from you, actually.
Well, I appreciate all her efforts. I got to say, and even now, not that we're out of the pandemic, but even, we're extrapolated more than a year away now. And our biggest competitor right now let me speak for myself. In the nursing homes that I'm involved in, our biggest competitor is the government. Is the United States. It is easier to not work right now than it is to work. So if you have the option of staying home and getting paid to stay home or going to work in a nursing home, too many people are choosing the latter and just going home.
Jillian said thanks. Her work never said that they did appreciate her.
Wow.
Now, that's not a good manager right there. Seriously. I'm serious. Her manager should have, the person that overlooks her work should have thanked everybody under them for all their hard work.
And found creative ways to reward them.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges all employers are facing. And it's not a new thing. It's a challenge that we've always been facing. And that is, how do you instill high performance in your team? How do you get your team? How do you show your team a win? How do you get them involved everybody wants to feel, this latest generation, the Gen Ys or the Gen Zs, a millennial generation, one of the biggest things that we're seeing out of this generation in the workforce, because by the way, they're 17, 18, right? They're coming into the workforce pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that we're seeing from them, which is not a bad thing, and it's not that far-fetched from every other generation, is they want to be clear about their purpose. They want to make a difference. And so do I. And so do you, right? And so as long as we can, I think one of the funnest pictures I've ever seen is of hold on a second, Trish, I'll read you in a second. One of the best pictures I saw was this aquarium in Georgia at the time, and I don't know if it still is, but it was one of the largest aquariums in the world. It had like 1 million gallons of water, like 200,000 or 300,000 different species of fish. And I remember seeing the picture and just looking all over, looking at all the fish, and there's something that I noticed. There's something very interesting. When you go to an aquarium that large with that many fish in it, I want you to pay attention to something. The fish are not eating each other. They're not eating each other.
I often notice that.
Do you know why that is?
Because they keep them well fed.
Yes, exactly. They're well. Not only are they well fed, but they're not well fed the same thing. They're all fed specific things that they want and that they need. And if us as employers, us as managers, identify that, if we can tap into that every individual who works for us needs to be well fed, not with just the garbage we want to feed them, but with actually feeds them really well, what they want to have for food. Win, win, win. All right, Trish, hi. How can someone boost their confidence and handle confrontation? There is only one way to do it. It's by doing it.
Yeah.
It's the only way to get courage, because I think that's what you're talking about. How do you get courage? Little by little, step by step. It's like looking at the sun. Sometimes you just have to do it in blinks, right? Just a little bit at a time. The more you stand up for yourself, the more confident you will get, and the more you will be able to shine as a person who other people will want to follow. There are a lot of fantastic workers out there, very smart and capable, but because they are a little bit on the bashful side, a little bit not wanting to take a leadership role, even though they're, when you look at their resume, if you just meet them and talk to them and see, you could go, man, if you wanted to be in charge, you certainly could be. Here's the problem, though. Most people don't want to be in charge. Most people don't want the responsibility. A lot of people just simply do not want to do it. And as a matter of fact, anytime I get the opportunity to speak in front of anybody, which is I really appreciate getting the opportunity to speak with you guys, if there's one PSA that I would like to put out there, a little public service announcement, it is this. There is a shortage in the world for people who are willing to take responsibility.
Amen.
People are willing to be in charge, to take the lead. I know you don't want to be in charge. Nobody does. Oh, Trish. Anyway, there is a huge problem. So if you have ever, and I'm talking to you, the collective you around the world, if you have ever thought, hey, I want to be in charge, I would love the opportunity to be responsible, to make a difference, to make more money, to be impactful in other people's lives. Here's the great news. We are hiring in religious institutions, in schools, in government, in private industries, in automobiles and manufacturing, every industry. If you could go in the middle of a city, close your eyes, spin around 10 times, and then whatever you stop and open your eyes at, whatever you're looking at is looking for a manager. That's how easy it is to find a management position. They're everywhere. We're always looking for people to step up in leadership roles. And here's the other thing. Because there is such a big need, don't be discouraged if you fail. If you get fired and you get terminated, you get told to step down, you ask to resign, and within 90 days, you should know that it is a statistic. It happens to all of us. My first management job, I got fired in 8 minutes. I got promoted to management. Swear, true story. I wrote about it in my first book. I got promoted to management and got fired in 8 minutes.
We kept you on longer than that.
You're damn right. Yeah, see, 8 minutes I got terminated.
You're fired, Ralph. Bye.
No.
It was a big challenge. It was a big challenge to go after the next management position, and it literally took me years to do it. It took me years, and people would go, "You'd make a great manager." I'm like, no, not me. I got fired 8 minutes after the last time I tried that. That did not work out well for me. It didn't. So then I finally I'm like, okay, I'll do it, and I do it. And you know what I did when I did it the next time, I lasted more than 8 minutes. But more important than that, I learned a ton. And I learned a ton about the most important thing I needed to learn about to be an effective manager. I learned a ton about me. And if you want to learn about you, take a management position, because everyone in the world will want to show you everything that you want to, everything that you don't see about yourself, others will show you. Because when you are in charge, nobody brings you a problem. They bring you a problem wrapped in hate, discontent, right? Dripping in sarcasm and attitude.
Thinking they have the answer.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. Whenever you're in charge, everybody else knows how to do
They know
your
how
job.
to do the job. Yeah.
Of course.
Well,
Yeah. So my newest book, The
Go ahead.
Good Manager, Being Great is Overrated, is just like that. I think I meet a lot of people who think that they would be really great at managing. Listen, just be good. All right. Just be a good person. Just be good at managing. Just get to work on time. Do what you're supposed to be doing. Don't be late. Dress appropriately.
when people would say, this is what we should do, okay, and you get that a lot, right?
Yeah, of course.
That I would say, that's a good idea. You run with it. Guess what? They didn't think it was
They never
such a good
picked it up
idea then. Seriously, I'm serious.
As I work in a call center, I've learned so much about myself. Customers can help with that too.
Oh, yes, they can. I've been called a lot of names, and most of them, unfortunately, were pretty accurate. I'm like, oh, that's true. I am going bald. Thank you. That's right.
Our son-in-law is a YouTuber. That was pointed out to him, and he was like, "Oh, thanks. I didn't realize that. Now I know."
Wait, what happened to my hair?
Yeah.
But everything that you're saying, I think people can apply to life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, managing. Say it again.
I said these are good life lessons.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, so in the book, The Good Manager, I go over the 5 rules of management. And the 5 rules of management they're real quick. I'm going to go through them real quick. I'm going to give you one small little caveat, and we'll see if you have what it takes to manage. Okay. So we're just going to, it's like a little test about management.
Yeah.
Rule number 1, managers are not allowed to walk by trash.
Amen.
That's easy.
That's true.
That's pretty easy.
That's true.
But most people who are in charge don't walk by trash. That's how we notice them. Oh my God, do you see them picking up in the parking lot? Yeah, get them in charge, right? That's okay. Rule number 2, managers have to be on time.
Yes.
A little more of a struggle sometimes, but you got to be on time. Rule number 3, managers have to, I would say, dress professionally, but instead of dress professionally, you have to dress in a way that stands out from everyone else. You can't look like everybody else, right? You can't. I work again in healthcare. I can't tell you how many managers look like nursing staff. Like, why are you in scrubs? Well, because there are lions who they work with and they're afraid of them, right? They don't want to stand out.
Yeah.
You've got to stand out in a positive way.
Yes.
Rule number 4, managers have to get all their work done.
Yep.
A little bit of a tricky one because managers have especially brand new managers, they lose their sense of timing. And they think, they have all the time in the world. And so they put their work off. And they're like, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And then you know what they do? They take it home. And there is nothing worse than a manager taking their work home because they're going to do their work while they're watching Dancing with the Stars, right? They're like, the Dancing with the Stars. And they're trying to do a report. And I know they're doing it with watching Dancing with the Stars because their report stinks. Stop taking your work home. And rule number 5 is you have to be visible. You have to be visible. Managers have to be visible. Too many managers walk into their office or walk into their facility, walk into their car dealership, walk into their store, and they go right to their office. Wrong move, friends. The email can wait. The first thing you should do is go walk the floor, walk the nursing home, walk the hospital, walk the car dealership. Be seen. That's super important. Okay. Those are the 5 rules. Those are pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
Not bad. We're not talking brain busters here, okay? Now here's the real test. Let's go back to rule number 1. If you want to be an effective manager, and this is only for people who want to be an effective manager. If you don't want to be an effective manager, earmuff it. This is the time to earmuff it. They gave a little disclaimer at the beginning of the show. Some of this might be a little bit tomfoolery. This is the time. This is it. Managers are not allowed to walk by trash, and they're not allowed to pick it up.
Yeah. It's the time to say, hey, Barry.
What's on the floor?
What would happen if you were not allowed to walk by trash and you were not allowed to pick it up? I have some people who make a joke of it. And they're like, well, I guess I would spend my whole day standing there in the hallway. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. And then you have other people who would go, you know what? I just kicked the trash down the hall to my office so I can stand there. No, that doesn't work. And then you have other people, and you know what they say? They'll be like, you know what? I could never do that because I would never ask anyone to do anything I wouldn't do.
Well, you did do it.
Oh,
You're a manager,
I
right?
would never ask anyone to do something I wouldn't do. I could never ask somebody to pick up trash if I'm leading from the front. I'm leading by example. What a cop-out.
Yeah.
What a weak excuse. As a matter of fact, it's even worse than a cop-out because if you look back, and it's such an interesting thing with the turn of phrase, that where the turn of phrase came from, that I would never ask you to do anything I wouldn't do, that came from the early 1900s, late 1800s, when there was this big labor union uprising, and there was a lot of child labor, and child labor couldn't join the union because they weren't old enough to join the union. And so the union was thinking that the child labor was being utilized by these corporations as this scapegoat, so they didn't have to pay these union wages and hire these union people. It was this big mess. Well, then children started to get hurt. And every time even the smallest incident would happen with a child in a factory, it got sensationalized in newspapers. You couldn't imagine that. A couple hundred years ago, they were sensationalizing newspapers. Can you believe that? It's true. But they were doing it, sensationalizing these stories. And so all these corporations had to come out with a new marketing message. Guess what it was? Oh, over here, Johnson & Johnson, we would never ask you to do anything we wouldn't do. You hear it now today. You hear politicians say, we stand for the people. You hear the grocery stores go, we believe in green. We want free-ranging chickens. We want to make sure that the chicken, whatever. It's the same message. That's where that whole turn of phrase came from. I would never ask anyone to do something I wouldn't do. Unfortunately, now it is used as an excuse by managers who do not have the intestinal fortitude to ask somebody else to pick up trash that 8 out of 10 times they're the ones who dropped. Right. Managers generally don't drop trash.
As you notice, my first response was, hey, Barry, get over here.
That's right.
I had no problem, like I said.
A lot of people have that's the test. That's the
Being
test.
the mom of 6 children is a great training ground to be a manager.
Yeah, and you know what?
Unless you like living in chaos, which I do not.
This is the back of the cover of my newest book, The Good Manager. You can see me tossing a piece of paper. And one of the greatest parts about this book, and for those 2 people who email me at info@RalphPeterson will get this, in the back of the book, I have a cutout piece of trash. So you can see if you have what it takes to lead. That's right. You just cut out a piece
That's awesome.
That's quite an extra.
That's awesome. Well, let's put these up so people know where to reach you. You want to read these, Ralph?
Well, actually, you can just go to ralphpeterson.com. And then if you want to follow me on any of the social media channels, you can find them there. So it's all Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So we're pretty active in all of those.
You can also go to indiebooksource.com.
That's right. And
find him there and buy his books.
On Amazon, I do have an author page on Amazon where you can learn about me and Ranger Rick, the first time I got caught plagiarizing. The only time I got caught plagiarizing.
Glad you amended that.
Yes.
Well, this has been awesome.
This has been great. I know you're tired.
I'm exhausted, but I've had a lot of fun with you guys, and I'm super excited to get to hopefully send some books out to people out there. So it's really fun.
So, Jim, anything you'd like to ask Ralph, or Ralph, anything you'd like to ask Jim?
Well, I enjoyed listening to you, Ralph. That was great.
Oh, well, that's nice of you.
I did too.
I have written 3 children's books and have never published any of them. So
I was going to say that's news to me.
Surprise.
No, I never did.
Listen, Ralph, make the jump. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know what? My biggest challenge has been trying to find an illustrator. And when I went to school for writing, I wanted to be a children's writer. I just love the idea. Yeah, I just love the idea that you can introduce an anvil at any time and children won't bat an eye. Yeah. Whereas adults, you have to, well, why is the anvil coming here? What are you doing?
Right?
If it shows up in the first act, it better show up in the second act. Children don't care about that. They just want to have a good time.
Trish says, great show. Jim and Ralph are great. And you both have been
wonderful.
Really great, really wonderful. We've enjoyed it so much. We encourage everybody to buy their books. Yep. Find them on Amazon, find them on indiebooksource.com.
And if you're interested in learning how to become a manager, hook me up and I'll hook you up.
Absolutely. Oh, Jim, Ralph.
Yeah.
You have a podcast?
The Ralph Peterson podcast. Yes.
Where can people find you?
At RalphPetersonPodcast.com. I think I might own too many .coms, so that might be a thing.
That could very well be.
We also, just saying.
Yeah.
Many places to keep managing we just walk past them and leave the trash there. I don't know.
Every time I think of a new one, I'm like, oh, I need that one. Oh, I might do something with that.
I was a manager at Home Depot. Okay, that's
very
where
nice.
And everyone at Home Depot has to wear a name tag. So to give you an idea of how bossy of a boss I was, the girls that worked for me had for their names, they all came in one day with name tags that said Jones Minion.
I'm a big fan of Home Depot. I know a friend. I have a friend who worked there as well and participated in their management training program. And I just love that stuff. Any Walmart, Target, McDonald's has a great management training program. McDonald's will take a 15-year-old kid and put him in charge of a $20 million operation inside of 10 years and make him successful. I mean, they have an amazing management training program. Amazing.
Home Depot literally can do that. And actually, they asked me to go and teach at the Atlanta for 2 weeks to teach people to do how I did what I did. Because I brought our sales up to 320% more than before 1 year. And I can sell ice to an Eskimo.
Oh,
yeah, you actually did that.
I know. No, you just sell people what they need. Not what they want, what they need. They're going to keep coming back to you because they know that they're going to get a good product, you know, and you care about them. And here's a really good clue. You listen.
Sorry, what?
You listen.
I cared. It's a joke.
I know. I got that right away.
But he gets that all the time, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I live with one. He's a kidder. Well, this has been great. I can't even say.
Let's give everybody a peek into May.
Okay.
Our upcoming shows in May. We haven't released that yet. So this is kind of a sneak peek. Episode 10 on the 5th of May is going to be Caleb and Linda Pirtle. And along with them, we're going to have sci-fi author Adam Gaffin. We won't have a show on the 12th because we need our own time. And on the 19th, episode 11 will be children's author Wanda Luthman and multi-genre author Carol Soloway.
I like Wanda. And
on the 26th, our next UK author night, the second one, is going to be Jan Domagala and Thomas Iyer. Both live from the UK.
So tune in, folks.
Tune in May. We got a lot of stuff going on then.
Yep. Don't forget, Inside the Drag Closet follows us here momentarily.
Yep. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. We loved having all of you. Until the next time.
That's all, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.